Do you want me to send you an email? Do you have email? Do you use
No,
email?
I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, your payment went through just fine, so it's good to go.
I really enjoy your little paper because it has names of people in here that I know. And then the old boy that writes the poems in there. I can kind of relate to him because in my younger years, that's what I did, was worked on ranches and cowboy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I get it. It's totally old school.
Well, very good.
Printing a paper's old school. Paying for a building all the time on a main street is old school. But I think it's really important. Yeah.
Studies have shown when local news organizations go out of business in communities, bad things happen. Fewer people vote, fewer people run for office, municipal bond rates can go up, pollution can get worse. So you want to make sure that a community has access to reliable, trustworthy sources of news and information, and unfortunately, that's just becoming harder and harder.
How do we find out what's going on? How do we find the news? How do we find out what our government's doing? If you don't have a paper, you lose track of all that. I mean, they lose their voice, and that can really tear a community apart, even a small community like this.
And all the newspapers that are closing out here, you know, they closed the Ledger and they closed Springfield
And Lamar,
and yeah, Burlington.
I can't figure out what's going on.
These big media companies have swooshed in and they're buying up all the newspapers.
Financial institutions known as hedge funds kind of got their claws into local newspapers. They found that newspapers were on the downswing. They invested in them.
They close the buildings, they get rid of the staff, and then when the advertising goes, then they just close it. No big deal.
These hedge funds, they don't necessarily have an obligation to the public as a public service. They have an obligation to shareholders.
These local papers have to have somebody running them that knows the people. We're located in Eads, Colorado, which is out on the eastern plains in southeastern Colorado. We're in the middle of nowhere, basically, and we're basically the only town in the county. I'm independent, so I own the Kiowa County Independent. Our immediate domain is Kiowa County, the whole county, and Cheyenne County. And it's Prowers County, Bent County, Kiowa County, Cheyenne County. So it's me as the publisher. And then I'm also on the board of the Kiowa County Economic Development, and I help with the museum, chairman of the Crow Luther Cultural Event Center. We're trying to get that library in. I just recently got off accountability at the school. Well, I was the principal there, the high school principal. There's another pickup coming, sorry. Come on in, Mont.
Hi, Jess. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good.
We're a raw milk drop-off place and pickup place, so besides everything else.
Yeah.
What happened recently on the Eastern Plains here in Colorado is that we saw 5 newspapers go out of business around the same time. So multiple counties on the Eastern Plains will lose their local news source. I consider a news desert a county that does not have a local newspaper that serves it anymore. So Colorado has 64 counties. Our Colorado News Mapping Project has identified at least one county, Cheyenne, that lost its newspaper a couple of years ago and might have become Colorado's first news desert. The only thing you're going to find on there identified as a place where locals have told us they're getting their local news and information is a Facebook page.
It happens in a lot of small areas. Almost every one of these towns has a Facebook page like that.
Cheyenne County has a population of about 1.7 thousand people, and that Facebook page has 1.4 thousand people in it. That's a pretty high number for like a rural area like that. So as these traditional local news sources go away, we're going to see more things like that pop up.
Everybody would tell me if I asked for their advice, they'd say, you gotta go digital, why are you still printing? Everybody that tries to subscribe here, if they're a new subscriber, I always ask them, do you want a hard copy or do you just want a digital copy? They all want a hard copy. That's the way they get their news still out here. If all of these titles just close up and there's nothing out here, it's gonna be bad for the people out here. It's very scary, scary thought.